In this video, we're going to show you to install the lower ball joint on your Volvo XC60 located on the lower front control arm. Using a 19mm socket, we want to get loosened and remove the lug studs. With the lug studs removed, go ahead and remove the wheel. With the wheel removed, we're going to use a 13mm socket, loosen and remove the axle nut. With the axle bolt removed, we want to go ahead and make sure that the CV axle is free from the wheel hub splines itself. So we're going to take a little bit of rust penetrant and spray that in there lightly. Then we're going to use a brass punch here. I want to go ahead and tap this. Now we were able to free that up a little bit. We're going to spray this again. And sometimes you can reach around the backside and grab that CV axle and move that a little bit in and out. And ours is free moving now. We'll move that CV axle in and out. Using a 21mm socket, let's go ahead and loosen our nut here. Now I'm just going to go ahead and thread this on just a couple threads. Now we're going to use our hammer. We're going to strike the knuckle here. That should release our outer tie rod end here. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses when doing a job like this. Remove that nut. I'm going to throw this back on there for now. Now our ball joint is riveted to the lower control arm. There are 3 rivets here, here, and here. There are a few different ways you can remove these rivets. You can drill them out, which takes a little while, or we're going to use our cutting wheel and we're going to cut some slits in this and then use our air chisel to zip off the heads, and then we'll just punch out the rivets themselves. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses if you're doing this. If you're doing this job here, cutting this, you want to be careful not to cut into the control arm itself. I want to go ahead and repeat this process for the other 2. Now I'm going to use my cutting wheel just to kind of clean this up a little bit. Now what I like to do is I'm going to go ahead and use my hammer and I'm just going to knock the ball joint just back and forth a little bit. Now it's not going to be popping these rivets out. I'm just trying to loosen up the rivets themselves before we go ahead and drive them out with the air hammer. Let's now use our 15mm socket and remove the pinch bolt. Now our goal is to pull our ball joint out of the control arm. We want to be careful of the axle itself too. Now, if your ball joint is stuck inside there, you want to go ahead and you want to put a wedge up inside here to open this up a little bit. There it is. Now we're gonna go ahead and take our ball joint. We went ahead and put a thin coat of grease on there. We're gonna slide this up into place. I'm gonna use our mallet here to go ahead and tap this up. There it is. You can see the bolt coming through. Let's go ahead and get our axle lined up here. And we have to pull this down, line up our axle, and at the same time get our ball joint base lined up here. Now we put our pry bar in on the top of our control arm here, prying it downward, and then we lean in and get this lined up. So we have our bolt in there. We're going to drop a washer on it and then grab the nut. And go ahead and get that started. Now that we have one of these bolts in place, it's going to make it easier for us to get the other two in. I'm going to go ahead and take a screwdriver. Go ahead and get the edge of one of those holes there and just pry that over. That's going to pull that ball joint over and into place. And you just want to manipulate this to get that to all line up. There we go. Go ahead and put that washer on and the nut. Now we're going to use our 17mm open end wrench for the nut side and a 17mm socket to tighten down the bolt. Snug these down. Let's tighten down our pinch bolt. I'm going to torque down our ball joint bolts to 37 foot-pounds on each of these. Torque down the lower ball joint pinch bolt to 81 foot-pounds. We can bring this around, line it up. Feed that up and in. And install the nut. Let's go ahead and snug this down. Now our ball joint stud is spinning a little bit inside the socket here, so we're going to apply some pressure to the ball joint, pushing it up to hold it using our pry bar. Now we're going to go ahead and torque this down to 59 foot-pounds. Now to stabilize our wheel, we're going to go ahead and put our screwdriver inside the cooling fins. Now anytime you remove an axle bolt on this particular model vehicle, you do want to go ahead and replace it because these are a torque to yield bolt. They should not be reused. Install that bolt. We did put a little bit of grease on that bolt. We're going to thread that in and we're going to snug that down gently. Now our torque specs call for 25 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. Go ahead and grab your screwdriver and put it inside one of the cooling fins here. Lock that in place. There's our 25. And let's go ahead and do 90 degrees. Our axle bolt is now torqued. Remove your screwdriver. Before installing your wheel, I'd like to go ahead and grab a lug stud, set it up inside the socket like so. Set that aside. Now ideally I like to go ahead and line up one of these studs here at 12 o'clock. I'm going to grab my wheel, line up one of those studs at 12 o'clock. Support that on my leg. And grab that stud in my socket and get that top center started. Go ahead and thread that in a few threads. Once you have that in a few threads, go ahead and get the other ones started. Now once we have all of these started, we can come back and zip them down with our gun. When snugging these down, I like to do it in a crisscross pattern or a star pattern. And you're just going to bottom those out, snug, but don't tighten them. Let's go ahead and torque down our lug nuts to 103 foot-pounds. When doing this here, it's best if we do it in a crisscross or star pattern. At that point there, you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.